If you're a salon or spa owner, cosmetology school gave you the skills to serve clients, but it didn't prepare you to run a business. You probably thought ownership would mean freedom, but instead you're working harder than ever, barely paying yourself, and worried that everything's going to fall apart the second you step away. Welcome to the station, where we give you real strategies, systems, and structure so you can step into the CEO seat where you belong. Hey friends, welcome back to the station, the podcast for salon and spa owners who are ready to build a business that's profitable, structured, and stable enough to run without the chaos. I'm Bree, founder of the Beauty Biz Agency, and as always, I've got my amazing co-host Chandra here with me today. Hey Chandra, you ready to get into this retail conversation?
Hello. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one today.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So you guys know retail used to be this predictable, steady part of salon business. But the game has kind of completely changed. So between online shopping, influencer recommendations, which sometimes drives me nuts, and how fast clients' habits are really shifting, retail looks totally different than it did 5 to 7 years ago. And if you've been feeling like clients just don't buy your products the same way anymore, you're definitely not alone. So today we are going to talk about what's really going on with salon retail in 2025, what's changed, what's working, and really what the future looks like. We have a special guest joining us today, somebody who works for one of the most reputable color and product companies in the industry. He's seen firsthand how salon retail has really evolved and what top performing salons are doing differently. So before we dive in, I want to introduce today's guest because he brings such a powerful perspective to this conversation. We've got Pasha here with us. He's the Executive Vice President of Sales, Marketing, and Education at Kuhn Hair Cosmetics North America, which you already know is one of the most respected family-owned brands in our industry. If you don't know that, you need to look into them because they are phenomenal. And they've been doing this for over a century, guys. That is huge in this industry. To be able to withstand that for that long is absolutely huge. Pasha has nearly 20 years of leadership experience with brands that you all know, Kevin Murphy, Keratin Complex, American Crew, and he has built this entire career on real, authentic relationships with independent distributors and salon owners. At Kuhn, he leads their vision for growth across the US and Canada, and everything he does is rooted in their core mission, loyalty to the hair professionals, which we don't find very often anymore. That's exactly why we wanted him on this episode. Pasha, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today on the station.
Thanks, Bree, and Chandra. What an introduction. I appreciate the opportunity and look forward to the discussion. It's one of those things that we're talking about every day. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and your listeners.
Absolutely. We're super excited because one of the questions or concerns that we get quite frequently, like every day, I'm just going to say it every day from the owners that we coach, especially, is I can't sell retail anymore. I don't know how to do it. It's not working. And so I think this is going to bring a whole different level to this conversation that people are really going to be able to understand. So with that being said, let's just get into it. Retail has changed in the last few years. We said that just a few minutes ago. But from your perspective, what do you feel has shifted the most in how clients are shopping for professional beauty products nowadays?
I think without question, the pandemic was something that really sparked what was called that digital transformation, and brands, whether or not they were going that direction or not, and obviously the figuring out how to get salons to focus on retail has almost been this topic since the beginning of the concept. But the pandemic, digital transformation, there was this brands and salons had to focus on another way to get to their consumers just because of the pandemic, and I think that really sparked everything, and then that really tied to this almost blurring of what's considered a professional brand or a consumer brand, and that also led to price increases, and then it led to economic challenges, and then that also led to the rise of the social media aspect. It led to brands that were previously exclusive to the salons to going direct to consumers. So all those things have really put us to where we're at now, and it's almost like we're in this accepted format of what life is like in the professional industry, now, almost, 3, 4, 5 years out of the pandemic. So yeah, that's kind of the place we're in. But I think, at the core, I don't think that where we're at is necessarily that much different than if we look back 15 years ago and you saw those brands that you used to be committed to were going into the department stores and the Walgreens, and it's kind of the same discussion, as far as when you look back for me, where it's just like the 2.0 version of it. And I think those are, you know, that's a lot in that first question, but yeah, I think that's what's changed.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. One of the things that I found with my own business, and Chandra and I have actually talked about this quite a bit, is that a lot of salons or salon owners that we see out there, they just haven't adapted fast enough to a lot of the changes that are kind of happening. Do you feel that that's the case and that people are still kind of playing catch up, maybe as an industry when it comes to retail and the way things have changed a little bit?
I think that there's been a lot of misinformation out there. I think that's one aspect, and I think and I don't think misinformation across the board, no matter what you're talking about, whether you're talking about the salon industry or not, and then the sources of that information, and I think that's led to that, plus the fact that that a lot of companies haven't been genuine about where they started and what they said they believed in. I think that's caused a lot of salons to kind of just feel like they don't know what to believe in, and a lot of salons have quit. And I think all those things have piled on. And I also think there were some years where, again, going back to the pandemic, where you're like, oh my gosh, we were closed for so long. Obviously it varied by market, but then everyone got back in the salons and everyone was so busy, and you forgot to focus on this key part of the business. So again, I think that's it. It's not that I think salons have been late to catch on to some digital, transformation, this digital game, because ultimately I think at least from a retail perspective, it's not about how can I get products, in my opinion. Actually, I'll say this: everything I'm saying is just in my opinion. But yeah, but what I would say is that it's not that they should be focused on doing digital for retail differently. It's not about that. I think actually the whole thing is about bringing that conversation right back into the salon and right back between the stylist and the consumer. I think that's the key. So yeah, whether or not it's fast enough, I think that there's just some realities as to why we're at where we're at.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think one of the things that I actually did a little bit differently, and it was such a learning curve for me because during COVID, I had to figure out different income streams, right? I could not stay closed
Mm,
forever. I was one of those that didn't, I paid my employees out of my own pocket, out of money that I saved. I didn't take all the money from the government. I didn't do a lot of those things like a lot of other salon owners did. Luckily, I had paid attention to my numbers. I had that money. It was a blessing. I was able to do that. But retail was huge for me during those closing times. I sold retail consistently during COVID, which really, really benefited me and my business in a lot of ways. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think for those of us who did stay in that type of scenario during the closure, for us, when we reopened, we just hit it 100 times harder. Like bam, 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 we're going to sell more and more and more because we saw how much money we brought in during that closing time. And so I think those that kind of lacked in that aspect really had a harder time when things opened up because they were so busy that retail just kind of fell along the wayside a little bit. Chandra, what questions do you have in this area for him?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of curious a little bit what you're seeing as far as any trends happening right now that are non-product trends. Like, what do you see happening with consumers purchasing? Like, is it more they're looking for wellness type things? Are they looking for more sustainability or personalization in their products? Like, what do you feel like is influencing their purchasing choices right now? And like where to buy, what to buy, things like that.
I think personalization is always this topic, and it seems like it always comes. It's always. I think there's this perception that it's always new, that it's always, that everyone's always looking for exactly that. what that combinations of things, or again, not, you said not product, but I think, oh, it's I'm going to get a colored conditioner that's specific to the formula. Those are topics, again, it's almost like we're revisiting some of these things. So I don't think it's necessarily about that, but I think the personalization aspect again goes right back to the conversation with the
Mhm.
stylist. People are looking for a recommendation that works for them. Everyone has needs still, but they're looking for answers at a different place. They're not looking for the answers at the salon, um, or they're not maybe getting the answers at the salon. They're looking for it other places, and I think that ends up causing is again not the right solution. They go somewhere else. So I think something that we've lost is that place where the reality of my stylist is my expert isn't around as much anymore, and then they got all kinds of other places to go. And I think that in other aspects, in you said wellness overall. I think if you look at other industries, they do get that personalized. They do get that recommendation from a trusted source, and I think that's something that's a little bit missing. And I think they find that yeah, again, people go and get recommendations, whether it's social, online. That everyone's looking for something that's personal for them, but really they're just looking for, hey, this is the problem. What's the solution? So I think that's kind of what I see out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. I think
Hmm.
it's so important for us to understand that we are the experts and that our recommendations really do play a lot. When Chandra and I are coaching salon owners, we try to drill this in their heads all the time. It's the same way if your doctor tells you something, you are going to go do that. 9 times out of 10, you're going to do every single step, whether it's crazy or not, right? Making mud in the front yard, putting it on your face, whatever they tell you, you're going to do. It should be no different in the salon industry. And so I think we really have to step up and make our team members understand that they are the experts and that their clients are paying for those recommendations, and it should be part of that journey 1,000,000%. Something that Chandra and I hear every day is that retail is just dead. It's like salon owners feel like because people can buy everything online now, retail is dead. So, with the rise of things like Amazon and Sephora and DTC brands, how has that changed professional companies like yours in the way that you need to show up? Number one. And number two, please reiterate to everybody listening that retail is not dead.
Yeah, I think even the notion that now everyone buys everything online. I mean, that's just saying that the brands that yeah, they're everybody that walks in the salon is using shampoo or conditioner or styling product. Everyone's using something. So I think the notion that retail is dead, it means that maybe the products that you're presenting or that you have your salon or that you've partnered with, or your belief in them is maybe what's dead, but not overall, because everyone's we're not at a no shampoo, no hairspray time. I mean, that's actually not realistic, and I think that ultimately, from a brand perspective, we we're really in this interesting time frame where, again, it's like we've shifted and so many brands have kind of changed their direction and approach, and salons are looking for, who do I believe in, what do I believe in, and brands that had one story have changed, and I think we're in this period of time, and I think it's just the beginning of it, but I do believe a vacuum is going to be created because ultimately, brands that have grown over the years, they've done so because of salons, and then those brands that change their direction, their life cycle is also going to change, and I think it's going to give an opportunity for other brands to step in and show that put their money where their mouth is, and also do more to help salons educate their consumers and provide additional support. It's one of those, everybody has to do more to stay competitive. And I think that whether that applies to manufacturers and brands and also applies to salons. And I was listening to one of your podcasts about, individual operators of booth renting versus salons. And as times change, you have to shift the approach, and we have to up our game, and make it where, you know what, retail isn't dead. I'm going to educate my consumers and my clients as to why they should get it from me, and which brands they should pick. And brands are going to have to do more too if they want to stay in the space.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. I think that's a big thing that people are looking at right now that they're not necessarily paying attention to. Like they're just being stuck in the weeds and being grumpy that all these other things are existing instead of looking at all of that stuff. So, as far as Kuhn, right? You work for Kuhn. So, how does Kuhn balance like selling online while still protecting and supporting the salon partners? And what can other product brands kind of learn from what you guys are doing so that they're not making everybody annoyed and mad?
Yeah, I mean, I was at a salon event last week called Leading Forward. It was a really beautiful event in Columbus, Ohio, at the Penn Zone Base One, and there were salons from across the country, and it's Van Council was there, and Steve and Helen Miller, they were there for that. They're up in Rochester, and of course the Penn Zones, and it was a really really nice event. And I was talking to the Millers, and something they said was afterwards. They were like, it's almost like the brands think we're stupid, and that we don't that we don't know what we're talking about, and that we don't see what they're doing, and that we're stupid is exactly what he said. And it was just one of those, like, you know, salons are going to figure it out, right? Or no, right? They just need to be, they need to know, they need to know there's help out there. There are brands that do believe in it, and believe in the salon space. Again, I think there's, as I said before, there's a vacuum that's going to be created, and more brands are going to fit into that space. But really, as far as what does Kuhn do? As you know, Brie, as you shared at the beginning, we've been a independent, family-owned brand that's been committed to the hair professional since 1922. And there's this amazing article from a barbering magazine that was celebrating the 25-year anniversary of the Kuhn brand. And in that magazine, in Netherlands, we're a Dutch company, the founder of the company, there was Jan and Cornelia's husband and wife. They were asked in the article from 1947, where do you sell this brand? And Jan Kuhn said, we had the opportunity to sell in the pharmacies and retail stores, but we've committed to the salons and barbershops. So this was part of our story from the very beginning. So we're unique because it's something where it's been our heritage for 104 years. So for us, it's a very opportune time because we're not changing our strategy. This isn't anything new. This is who we are. So how do you approach online? Well, the reality is that you use online for amplifying the brand, for getting information out there, for being present. At the same time, you have to protect the salons. Oftentimes, and something we do, we protect the salon pricing. We make sure to inform our distributors first, and then make sure that they're aware of the pricing that we have, our MSRPs, and what we suggest at the salon level versus online. And then, so making sure there's a premium, whatever that dollar amount is. Maybe it's 10% more. Maybe in the future it'll be 20% more online than it is in the salon. But then that's not all of it. It's almost like there's no benefit to doing something like that if your salons don't know about it and don't know how to communicate that to their clients. So that's something else that we're doing is we just started a campaign just really organically that started where we're calling it Shop Small, Care Big, and we're providing our salons digital resources and also select salons printed resources where we can promote to consumers why it's important to shop at the salon, and then we give them points. The first point is because your stylist is the expert. Another point is, hey, the purchasing at the salon helps your stylist, helps your salon, helps your community. It's almost like we've come out of this space where we just accept that, oh, this is a brand. But if you had to choose, not there's anything wrong with a chain restaurant as an example, but if you had to choose a local restaurant, a chain restaurant, of course you're gonna support the local restaurant when you can, right? And I think it's just educating everybody about that. And again, you just have to, I think, from a brand perspective, and this is something we've said a lot. Ultimately, if it's good for the salon, it's good for our distributors, it's good for our brand. If it's not good for the salon, then it's also not going to be good for us. And I think that's the pass or fail for every decision that we make.
No, I think that's awesome. And that's one of the things I really like. Mhm.
Yeah, and I just want to say for those out there listening, if you don't have a brand or you are not partnered with a brand who believes these things and proves
Yeah.
these things and shows these things over and over and over again, like Kuhn does, we're a little biased. We are Kuhn salons. But if you don't have a brand that does that, these are the things that you have to look at moving forward. Because if you want to be able to sell retail and explain to your team and take care of your clients in every way that you possibly can, you need the backing of people like Kuhn, businesses like Kuhn to help you to be able to do that. Sorry, Chandra. I just think that's really, really important.
Hmm. No, I 100% agree. I think that is, yeah, absolutely. Um,
I appreciate the the brand plug too. What I would say is whether it's Kuhn or not, we would love for you to join the Kuhn family, as we say, but ultimately, don't forget that you have a choice. You have a choice
yes.
who you partner with, who the brand is, who that sales consultant or distributor is. So really, it's up to you to decide. And I was having a conversation with a very successful salon owner, young salon owner, and she was concerned about the brand that she had in the salon, and was concerned that that brand that she had been committed to for the longest time, who had kind of broken the promises, she was concerned that was the DNA of the salon. And I said, absolutely not. Like, it's not that that brand was the DNA of your salon. What that brand stood for, that you believed in during that period of time, that is the DNA of the salon. So ultimately, whether it's cute or not, look for the brands, and I'm sure we'll talk about this maybe a little bit later, but look for the brands that are aligned in what you believe in, and look for the distributor partners if it's a brand that's sold through distributors that you believe in as well. I think that's what's most important, not what the what the name of the bottle is. So yeah.
So I have another question that popped in my head a little bit because I was thinking of what you were saying about the base one event and what the Millers were saying. So that is like the consensus though of a lot of owners out there. That's how they're feeling and that's kind of where they're at. So what do you think salons still have that e-commerce can't touch? Like how can owners lean into that type of an advantage instead of being so obsessed about those things when it comes to the retail? Like what kind of advantages can they lean into? In your opinion?
I mean, I think the advantage is the fact that consumers still have to come in to get get their hair done. It's
Mm-hmm.
like no matter what happens, and also recognizing. I think there's strength in numbers, there's strength in this knowledge, there's strength in knowing that hey, we all have common challenges. Like that's the reality, and then also knowing that there are salons that are still very successful with it. It's just bringing the dollars back in recognition. Recently I was asked, from Q globally, we were developing, we were just looking into the future to talk about, hey, what are some categories that we want to look into for, new product development. And, I asked some of our educators, some of our salons partners, some of our sales consultants, our internal team. And I also asked, my sister, who's 6 years older than me, and my wife. And of course, they're into beauty products and always willing to try new things. And I said, what was innovative? What's been really great out there? And they couldn't really name that many really innovative, incredible, new products or innovations out there. And this isn't exactly what my sister texted, but she said something very specific, like, "Oh, I wish there was a product that was something like this." She's like, "I wish there was a product that was really good for textured hair, and but also, would keep it, hydrated, but wouldn't, just some random, very specific thing." And I read this text, and I I wouldn't be the number one person that you'd come to for a product recommendation necessarily. We have a lot of great products, but I got that, and I was like, you know what? Surely, whether it's not a Kuhn, there is a brand out there that has a product that does X, Y, and Z for you. The problem is that you don't know where to go to have that conversation, and then you go to some salons, and maybe they're committed to some brands and not some brands, and then that ends up being that most of those brands maybe don't provide you the education you need for your staff. So that's what's happening. Like, absolutely, there's a product that's out there that works for what your needs are, but it's just not happening at the salon. And I think that's all. It's just again, I think we're going back to a place where we there's mutual commitment, and the biggest advantage is that conversation that stylists have with their consumers.
Yeah, it's so important. It really, really is. So we've talked a lot about kind of what's not working in some of the areas, what salon owners are believing and how they feel. Let's talk about some of the things that will bring success to these salons, because I think that's really, really important. And one of the things that Chandra and I are most adamant about, I guess you could say, as we are coaching these salon owners, are numbers. Numbers are huge for us in every single way. So what are the most important KPIs or maybe metrics that you see the top performing salons are tracking when it comes down to retail?
Sure. I would say that obviously, Bree and Chandra, you guys do the salon business coaching. There's so much good information out there. I think rather than hearing what those KPIs are, from me, I think it's just starting from set KPIs, set goals, measure. There's a beginning to and there's an end. And also go to your partners to get this information. I think that's one of the biggest things is and partners could mean, again, it should mean your brand, it should mean distributors, it should mean just asking other salons for support. We're not in competition with each other. I think that's such a big part of it. And again, I whether it was to come to Bree or Chandra to come to you for information, the reality is that when you work with a business partner, whoever that may be, a salon business partner, no matter what the cost is, it will be recouped probably from that very first consultation. So I think that's critical, and it's also okay to not have that information. It's okay to not know that, right? But that answers are there, and they don't have to be the most complicated. I think no matter if we're in the salon space or if we're a brand or if we're a restaurant, no matter what business we're in, I think you have to know what the numbers are, and then just keep it basic and simple. I think the it doesn't matter. You could write a whole book on a business plan, but if you can't execute it, it's not really worth anything. So I think keeping things simple is also a big approach. And then once you have those numbers is to track it. I think the best salons I've worked with are the ones where it was there's salons that have a meeting every single week, and every time they have that meeting, they go through those same metrics at the very beginning. Every single stylist goes through, and while that's seems like it's could be a lot, those are the ones that are the most successful, that are just constantly tracking that. And then just you're getting everybody involved in it. You make it a part of, just the everyday activity of salon. Like it becomes second nature. And it seems crazy, I know, but I've seen it done. I know that y'all have that in your salons as well, where it just needs to become a part of the process that happens on a weekly basis.
100%. I know for me, myself, this is what changed my life. Like, I'm not saying my salon, my entire life. This is what took me from being negative profitability month after month after month to being in one of the highest profitability percentiles that a salon has been in. We've been recording these things, right? I sit at about 38% profitable month after month, which is really hard to do in a commissioned salon. And before I tracked any of these numbers, I had no idea what was going on. And now Chandra and I tease each other all the time. It's like a game. We get our team involved, we get ourselves involved, and we're trying to beat ourselves every month on how we can increase, those retail numbers, the profitability amount, lower our expenses, do all of those things. So I agree with you 100%.
I was just kind of curious too, if you see any challenges specifically in salons around that retail space. Like, do you notice a lot of salons that you guys are in or going into that have inventory challenges, or their retail space is like not good, like, or the education on the product is not good? Like, how do manufacturers help salons overcome them, and what kind of things could salon owners look for in a manufacturer for that kind of help that maybe they don't know?
So many things. I think, I guess first off is, yeah, we're talking about retail. This part of the
Mm-hmm.
conversation, obviously, the podcast is about retail today. I think um, the answers are there, and I think go into any other space that's a retail space and take a look around at some of the ways that they merchandise product. How much product's available. how they, the conversations they have with you, the merchandising that's there. I mean, those are all things that there's a reason the stores are set up that way. We all know this, right? There's a reason stores are set up that way. Go to the grocery store, go to Nordstrom's, go anywhere that you go. And it's, if you want to be a retail space, it has to look like one. So from an inventory perspective, yeah, that's always part of it is there enough product? This is so basic. It's like, are the shelves stocked? Is there enough product? Does it look like nobody wants to take the last one on the shelf? Nobody wants to go down to the bottom, right? And I think but at the same time, it's okay. I said it's basic, but it's okay not to be thinking about that part of the business that way. I think what it really requires is, again, to have partners in place, whether it's a business perspective, distributor partners, if it's a brand that's sold through distributors, the sales consultant, management, and the brand. Yet again, I would say you are in control of this, and don't be afraid to ask for assistance. In fact, I encourage you to do that. That is the obligation of your partners to do so. And if they're not providing it, that's when you go somewhere else. It's like you have the power as the salon owner. So I would absolutely say that. And, I think then you get everybody else involved. It's, yeah, I would just maybe start with that.
Well, I think that's great information. I want to talk about the team side for just a second, because this is where we find a lot of issues when it comes to salon ownership. So one of the number one reasons that stylists don't sell retail that Chandra and I find is that they're just not confident in it at all, or they don't understand it. And owners, we are the leaders. And so we have to shift that perspective. We have to shift that mindset in our team. How do you think salon leaders can train their team to recommend product more naturally without it sounding salesy or pushy? Because that is the number one pushback that they get is, I don't want to sound like a car salesman, right? I don't want to be pushy in any way.
Yeah, I think, as you said at the very beginning, ultimately your clients are purchasing product somewhere. They're going to be buying. That's one thing. I think also your clients are looking for information. They're looking for help. We also know that. I was actually thinking about today too, and I was like, gosh, wouldn't it be amazing if you actually ask the clients, hey, where do you get your products? What are you using I mean, again, it's a basic thing. What did you use last time? Wait, what is it? Because I think that's part of the job. That's part of starting that conversation. But yes, since the beginning of time, and nobody does. Salespeople don't even want to feel salesy, right? I think part of it is you have to, from a stylist perspective, I think it is an extension of the consultation. I think that's ultimately the core thing. And then to go back to that leading forward, one of the things that Van Council said, he said, you know what, when a client is in the chair, he says that they teach all their stylists, it's not about, like, you have to focus on, it's not about you, as in the stylist. It's not about you. It's about the client. It's not about what happened, over the weekend. And again, it's okay to have some conversations, of course. That's part of the human element. But ultimately, you have a captivated audience in your chair, and I think it's about having the focus of the conversation be about them. And then when there's opportunities to make sure to talk about the condition of the hair, the recommendation. Like, I think if that's incorporated in aspects in a natural way, ultimately you're making sure that they have the best service, and if they have the best service, they're going to come back and they're going to be your customers for life. So it's not that it's about selling, it's just about doing that aspect of the job that's so critical. And some of that comes with recognition, it comes with support, it comes with knowledge. But ultimately it's like you want your customer, like when a client comes into the salon, they leave in, they're so happy, they feel so good about themselves. And providing that product, whatever brand it is, that recommendation, talking about what their needs are, that's what ensures they're going to be happy, the rest of the next, 5 or 6 weeks before they come back.
I think that was really good advice. I think one of the things, like that you kind of were saying, it does just go back to the stylist and how they're presenting things to the clients. And I do think that's the biggest thing that Brie and I get as far as pushback goes from owners sometimes when they're trying to work with their team and they're missing that part. So thank you for, talking about that. I know that education is like a really important thing, right? Like getting education to your team, getting an education from your manufacturer. And I know education is a big thing that you guys, your company is really striving to bring more of. How do you feel? Have you found any trends or innovations in the education space that is really sticking with stylists that you find that is working better for owners and things to be able to work with their teams on getting like product knowledge or anything that they need for that?
Yeah, I think this is one of those areas where you can really take advantage of the progression in technology, and I think I think that and we saw such a shift in education, right? Everything was in with the shows and everything was in salon, and then it went to everything was digital, and now we're back to a place where at least the brands that are committed to the salon space are going back into salons, and I think that the schedules in the salons have adjusted a little bit to be able to go back to that, hopefully. But I think we take advantage of the best of what we of that virtual space, and incorporate that with the in-salon education. I think that's the key. So as an example, at Kuhn, we've had the digital e-learning platform for several years in Europe. This year, or 2026, we're bringing it to North America, and I think that's a part of it is looking for resources and companies that have digital e-learning platforms, e-learning overall, incorporating that as and overlapping it with what's available, at the salon and what's pre-scheduled. And I would say because everybody learns differently. Yeah, I've always thought that it was a bit unusual to be able to even have someone come in and just do 3 hours of presentations and then expect everyone to know everything after. That's not possible, really. So, and not everybody's going to write things down. Not everyone is going to flip through a manual. But I think you have to have different. You have to address the different ways that people learn, different paces of learning, the different. Everyone's schedules are different. So, I think that has to be a hybrid approach, and I think overlapping, what's available digitally with what's set up in the salon is key, and setting up almost a schedule. It's like, hey, I know that I have brand X, Y, and Z coming in a month. These are the topics that we talked about as far as what we want to address. Now let me work backwards, and what other resources can I set the team up so that it's not the very first time they've heard that. They're learning about those resources. Let's make it a more effective class in salon. I think that's really the big thing that how do you maximize that time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so powerful. I think that is great, great, great information right there. I want to switch gears for just a second and talk about partnerships because I think this is everything, really. I think it's important. Beyond product quality and beyond margins, beyond all of that stuff, what do you feel are the top three things a salon should look for in a long-term product partner?
We talked about it a little bit. I think the most important thing is uh, a brand, a company that you believe in that has aligned values. Do we believe in the same, in the same things? Again, it's we're all about family, partnership, and loyalty to the hairdresser. It's like those are the key points, and then obviously there's a lot of elements to that. But I think the most important thing is a cultural fit, something that you're aligned with, the staff's aligned with. I think the next one is what are the support elements that the brand can provide you? What does their rewards program look like? How much education can you qualify for? What does their promotional calendar look like? What type of marketing and merchandising support can they give you? And then I think the third is who is there to help you execute that and work that plan through. For Kuhn, we are 100% committed to independent distributors and the model of independent companies working with other independent companies, so independent distributors and independent salons, and ultimately, I think that's the third one. Who's going to help me execute this while I'm there? Obviously, so many salon owners are also operators in the salon, and I think that's the critical aspect. And like I said several times, they're there to help and serve you. So I think that's the third one. You may have someone who's oh my gosh, I love this brand. It's everything that we want, and look at all these great things that they can provide. But I only see the person who comes in once a quarter, or don't see them at all. Well, then unfortunately, then that's not going to work. And I tell you what, there should be plenty of other companies that would like to step in and support your growth. Ultimately, because if the salon's successful, they'll be successful too.
Absolutely. Chandra and I teach our owners all the time that you have to make every decision by your core values. And so I'm so glad that that was number one for you, because we are huge believers in that. Every single decision that I make in my business, if it doesn't follow my core values, I'm not touching it. I'm not doing it. I'm moving on. And I think that's why I still love my business and I'm so happy. And I know Chandra does the exact same thing. So chills when you said that, because I think that's really, really important. Okay, I want to talk about what's coming ahead in the retail space. So, what upcoming technologies or service models do you think are going to really impact how clients buy their home care products, maybe in the next 2 to 5 years?
That's a difficult. I mean, it's hard to look. It's really hard to look into the future, and it's funny because I was asked, beside the product when with company, we were really looking at what does the future look like, and what does innovation mean, I think that it's really about helping salons take advantage of uh, the information and interactions they have with their clients. And again, I don't have the answer to this, but I think it's really, ultimately, not to, yeah, we said the word Amazon. Like Amazon doesn't know. Amazon has all the information about everybody, as an example, but really, Amazon doesn't know what hair colors used, what the hair conditions are. Don't know how, don't. There's a lot of things that aren't available to the online resellers, and I think the future is really helping brands with distributor partners, if that's the case, working with salons to really take advantage of the knowledge that's in the salon, to be able to provide those more personalized approach to the clients. So outside of that, I couldn't tell you exactly what's out there in the future, but I think it really, the answer just goes back to making sure that the conversations and consultation occurs at the salon.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I think that is just the smallest piece that people miss out on that is so freaking important. So I'm so glad that you said that. All right, Pasha, before we wrap this up, if you could give salon owners maybe one small change to make this month that would instantly boost maybe retail results, what would that be?
One thing to help this month. Oh gosh. I think uh, if it was just this month, not long term, I think set a goal. Set a goal, break it down, by stylist, and then just launch it with your staff, get their buy-in. I think that's it. Is sometimes, I was talking to a salon again. It was a salon recently, and they had a huge goal. Actually, I was at Steph Fox, who was presenting there, and she was talking to a salon. Steph Fox, who's of course in our industry, does coaching, and she said, yeah, the salon had 3 days left, and they were like, oh, you know what, we're only $4,000 down from the goal, but it's okay. And then she was like, well, let's break this down. I think that's the big thing, is like, if you see a big number, it may be unimaginable, but then you break it down. This is the number. Then you got 2 days, and you got this many stylists, and you make it just a very basic number. And I think when you do that, it makes it very, very approachable. And ultimately, you still have to get the buy-in of the staff. But I think it just starts with, what's your target? Set that goal, break it down, and yeah, get the buy-in from the staff. At the very least, if you don't hit your goal, you're going to do a lot more than if you didn't have one, right?
Right.
No doubt about it. So yeah, that's what I would say.
And I think it's so important. Chandra and I are always breaking that down with people, and they don't realize how small it is actually on a daily basis that they need to sell. And when they see that, they're like, wait, $150? Like, that's it? And we're like, yeah, that's it. And so it really, it does. It makes people open their eyes. And For salon owners out there, when your team feels that something is attainable, they are going to go after it so much faster because nobody wants to fail. None of us want $5,000, $10,000 goals that we know we can't ever hit. So nail on the head. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I think this has been such an insightful conversation. I just want to thank you so much for being here and sharing your expertise with us. I think it's going to help a lot of people. But before we sign off, I want to ask if you could leave all of our listeners with one final thought, one piece of wisdom about retail or the future of retail or leadership in this industry, anything that you want, what would it be?
The one thing would be that this is such a special industry, and there's really no limit to what you can achieve as a salon owner, what your staff can achieve. Know that the no aspects of the business that we talked about is dead. Absolutely not. We have such a special industry, and you read the news. There's so many industries, unfortunately, that are affected by changes in technology, AI, this and that. Ultimately, clients have to come into the salon. You are the source. You are the answer. You are the expert. Don't believe all this stuff that you're hearing. And it's not just about retail. You're the experts. Trust and believe in that. And as I said multiple times, the help is out there. The resources are out there. It doesn't matter if it's Kuhn or not. Again, we'd love for it to be Kuhn. But there are people out there that would love to have your business and are there to support you. And again, brands, distributors, other salons, we're all in this together, and we will succeed. So just believe in our future. This is just a new version of what we've all been talking about for since the beginning of the industry here. So.
Absolutely. I love that. You guys heard it here first. AI, robots are not taking over our industry. So hang in there. We're going to all be okay. I'm just kidding. Pasha, thank you so much for being here and for everything that you are doing. Seriously, for everything that you're doing to support salon owners and stylists everywhere.
My pleasure. Thanks very much for the opportunity, Bree and Chandra.
Absolutely. Hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Chandra, you know what? I think this conversation proves something that we all need to be reminded of. Retail isn't dead. Pasha said it, right? It just may look a little different, and there's nothing wrong with that. Things evolve all the freaking time. That's life, right? Clients are still buying. They're just buying from whoever is going to show up for them. That's kind of what I took out of the conversation. And when you create structure, when you teach your team, when you partner with brands that actually invest in your success, you're going to stop chasing retail every single day, and you're going to lead the conversation. You're going to lead retail to every single person that needs it. I think if you guys are out there and you are ready to rebuild your retail systems, to train your team, or to get back on track with real structure inside of your business, head over to our website, www.thebeautybizagency.com. We have tons of free resources that will help you do this. We have tools, we have coaching programs. We've got it all to make your business more profitable and honestly more predictable without adding any more chaos. And guys, if this episode spoke to you or if it helped you in any way, please share it with another owner who needs to hear it. Don't forget to leave us that 5-star review. It helps us more than you can even realize. Also, make sure that you're subscribed so you never miss out on what's coming up next. Chandra, how do they do that?
Yeah, definitely check us out on social media at the Beauty Biz Agency on Facebook or Instagram, and the Beauty Biz Mentors on TikTok. And don't forget, you can catch all these episodes on YouTube too. So make sure you follow us and reach out.
Absolutely. That's a wrap, guys. You've been listening to the station where salon owners stop babysitting and start leading like the CEOs they were meant to be. Until next time, keep showing up for your clients, your team, and the version of your business that you know it can become. Now go out there, make bank, run the show, and ditch that chair. And as always, keep slaying those business goals with a whole lot of swagger. If this episode lit a fire under you, don't just walk away and let it die out. Deep down, you already know where you want your business and your life to go. And the truth is, the only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is a real plan to get you there. That's exactly what we help you build. So if you're ready to stop trying to figure it out on your own, head to thebeautybizagency.com and book your free strategy call. That call can give you the clarity that you've been needing and a real plan to move your business forward. Because at the end of the day, the only thing standing between you and the salon business you've been dreaming about is whether or not you're willing to take the action and the steps in order to build it.